you're probably paying 10 to 20x markup for Outlook inboxes wherever you're getting them from. Most likely you're using resellers, or if you're using Microsoft straight away, you might be paying like 50x markup. So I'm going to show you in this video exactly where the resellers are getting these inboxes for as low as 2 cents per month per inbox, which is quite crazy. This is actually a new strategy which most of the resellers don't even know about. So I'm going to show you so you can skip the middleman and get the inboxes yourself, because I don't feel like there's no point of hiding this because someone doesn't know any information and you're just gonna get ripped off by these resellers. So let's not do that. Let's go. I'll explain everything. So if you're looking in terms of Microsoft Outlook inboxes, there's really only 3 options you could do. So there is Microsoft themselves, which charge, well, let's say like $7.2 if you're going on a monthly plan, which of course you are. This is the basic license. This is realistically all you need. So you don't need the business one, you don't need the premium one, which are obviously like more and more expensive. You are absolutely fine. But I mean, if you want to get just 100 inboxes, right, which is not that many, you're gonna pay $750, which is just way too much for this kind of stuff. Okay, so what is realistically my next option? You could say, oh, hey, there's a free trial button. I'm gonna start free trials. We tried that strategy and here's what we learned. So you can run up to 30 days a free trial per one tenant, plus you can additionally extend it for another 30, so in total 60 days. But just give me 1 second before you start signing up for 15 tenants. The problem with this is you're limited to 25 licenses per plan, which means just basically 25 for basic, 25 for standard, and 25 for premium. So in total 75 per tenant, which is not the problem itself. The problem is they're going to give you bad IP. So they're going to give you a blocked IP, which means you cannot do any outbound on it. If you do, your tenant is basically going to get banned the next day. So realistically, just don't waste your time with this. It's not worth it. Okay, so what's your next best option? Resellers, and here's Mr. Crab just symbolizing the greediness of them at the moment. So I mean, I'm hoping the market will just drive down the value because a lot of people are getting ripped off. I too felt kind of bad when we found out exactly like what's going on behind the scenes. Not about gatekeep anything, you can see exactly what we found out. I'm going to share this with you in just 2 minutes. But basically they charge 10 to 20x markup on the inboxes they get. So they're going to give you for $30, for $90, 100 inboxes, which sounds like a good deal. And it is a good deal compared to Microsoft, right? But if you find out how much they're getting this for, I think that's where becomes the problem. Because if you're making like, okay, 2-3x margins, that's absolutely fine because you need to pay for a team. You need to pay for certain softwares as well, which I'll explain what you need. But 10 to 20x is just a pure robbery. And yeah, what is the solution, you might be asking, Sabo? Well, this is what we figured out, okay? So you can skip the middleman and become a Microsoft certified reseller. So what you need to do is just basically sign up for Microsoft's certified cloud solution provider partner. You would need to come here. You would need to send in a registration and they will vet you. You will run through a few onboarding calls with them. So this is how it looks. And once you go through the onboarding calls, you're going to be able to create the partnerships and just tap onto the back end of Microsoft and get these licenses. Of course, it's not as simple as this because, you know, if you're doing this manually, there's a lot more tech involved. You need to set up inbox. And if you're trying to set up like 10K in this example, that's going to take maybe a week or even more if you're just manually doing it. So it's recommended to have a custom script for it. Or if you want to use something like we are using, we have partnered up with a software company who have created a specific setup process for this. And they just charge basically barely anything and it's going to save you tons of money. So if you're interested in that, it's link in the description so you can get there and basically just by a tap of your fingers, you're going to have hundreds of inboxes set up like that. And it's worth it, I think, because you're already saving a ton of money on the inboxes themselves. So that's basically what we use for our new clients. That's the solution. We always just go and just tap into this and use these instead of Microsoft retail resellers. But let me get into this. So basically, once you become a reseller, you can get your own. And what does that mean is you can get thousands of tenants. And the problem becomes when you have multiple thousands of tenants. And that's where resellers, I'm not going to drop names because there's a whole bunch of them. I'm friends with quite a few, but they ran into quite a few problems because say, well, let's just think about, like, let me draw here. So if you have 100 clients, right, and each of them has, let's say, like 10 tenants, right? Okay, that's not bad. That's 1k tenants. But the problem becomes when you sort of reach this number and get above this, and Microsoft is going to see that, okay, something's going on here, and just from this one IP there's just way too many resellers being made. Because you might be asking, like, oh, am I not a reseller as well? Can't I resell? Yes, of course. But there's a problem when people are reselling for cold outbound. Microsoft doesn't like it. And if they see 1,000 tenants with, 100 inboxes each sending cold outbound, they're gonna know, like, who to ban, and you're gonna get banned. Well, it's not you in this case. In this case, this is the reseller who's getting banned, and you're under them, probably under one of the clients of the 100 clients. And this is what happened with a lot of resellers, is they had too many clients, and Microsoft just noticed that they're using one tenant provider, and they just banned that tenant provider from providing tenants to that person, to that reseller, and the whole clientele was absolutely cooked. And most likely, by the way, if you're using one of these resellers, the problem is you pulled in with just a bunch of people who are doing cold emails. So, like, if some idiot moves the whole system, the infrastructure, then you're cooked as well. So they don't say this because, of course, they don't, because it's their business. But, just, I mean, if you think about it logically, you're pulled in with a bunch of people doing cold email, and which one is more safe? The one that there's just you, or the one there's hundreds of people doing the same thing which you're not supposed to be doing? Which one flies under the radar more, right? Of course, stupid question, but if you talk about, resellers about this, they're just gonna get mad and bark at you. But that's why I'm here. I'm happy to explain for you, so you can win on your own and not be ripped off by these people. Anyway, back to video. So you can get standard licenses for 4.5 cents, right? These licenses, you can get these business licenses for 4.5 cents, because you can tap into the back of Microsoft backend and just get these tenants. Okay, so what does that mean? For one tenant, you basically pay $4.5. And what that means is, for one tenant, you can have 100 inboxes on one domain, so that's $4.5. Or, well, there's a secret license which we're testing at the moment. I don't want to reveal it because, if it doesn't end up working really well, I don't want any backlash from it. So I'm just keeping it a secret. Basically, it's going to allow us to get inboxes for 2 cents. Yep, 2 cents a month. So one tenant, same story, like it's the same build up, it's just a different license, it's not listed here. It is going to allow you to, again, like 100 inboxes on one tenant, $2 for one domain, basically sending 5 cold email a day per inbox per day, and you're gonna stay safe. The only thing you need to worry about is, per tenant, you should send not more than 1,000, and this is cold as well as warm. Okay, so cold and warm should be around 1,000. 2,000 is the max, but I don't recommend hitting that. So I mean, if you think about it, like if you're doing 5 cold, 5 warm, that's gonna give you 1,000 send a month. So it wouldn't do anything more than 5 at the moment. There are certain recommendations from resellers you can take into account. Some people set up 49 inboxes per tenant, some people set up 99. It does not matter at all. Like they sell you the stuff that it's different. It is not different, it's absolutely the same. The only thing is different, like the how, right? Like they get, I'll show you in a minute, but they get different tenant providers. So once you become a partner from Microsoft, you need to go to a tenant provider and get those licenses through them, right? Because they can tap into the back end of Microsoft and just summon licenses for you, and you're gonna pay them. Okay, but what does this look like in terms of numbers, right? So if you want to send from 10k inboxes for, let's say, the standard license, it's gonna net you $450 a month, which is right around 1,250,000 emails every month. Or again, if you want to do the same but with the cheap ones, which might work, might not work, we're testing it, it's gonna be $200 a month. But I mean, if we just run the numbers, if you go with a tenant provider, I mean, and even this is a good number, they charge $50, right, per tenant. And let's say again, we have 100 tenants, because this is 10k boxes, 100 times 100 is 10k. They're gonna charge you 5k for this And you know, even with this, even if we go with the more conservative 450 number, it's still more than a 10x ROI. And like I said, this is sort of a conservative number. So this is why I'm sort of mad at these people, because they're just taking advantage of people who don't know exactly this piece of information, and they feel like they crack the system by hiring 2 VAs who are managing the exact back end of it, and this is all they do. So I mean, I'm just showing you how you can do it. Basically, you can get EU, UK, or US. It depends. So depends where you get the partnership from. If you're from the EU, you're gonna get an EU IP. If you get a UK IP, you're gonna get a UK IP. If you're from the US, you're gonna get a US IP. So if you have a business somewhere else, it's gonna give you that specific region's IP. So that's the only sort of drawback if you're from a not so good reputation of an IP, then there's that. I think personally EU is the best, or UK, because that's not the one most abused. Most abused is of course US, so you can take that information and do what you will with that. Basically, you know, if you have a US business, unfortunately there's nothing you can do, and still you're getting a really decent deal. So tenant resellers, basically all you need to do is just find a tenant reseller, do 2 to 3 onboarding calls with them, enroll, and get your information across Microsoft, and just register for the CSP program that I've shown you here today. So that's pretty much it. Once you have this, you can basically summon your licenses for, again, like 4.5 cents, or you can test the 2-cent one. And it's just simple as that, right? Once you get this going, if you get something, if you burn your domain, then you can just replace with a new one. But again, if you want a software to do it, we have it inside the Citadel. So if you want access to that, we give that all to you. You can manage all these tenants in one place. You can just join that and get access to that through the second link, and it's going to be super easy, and you don't have to do things manually. But if you want to do manually, here you go. I'm not gatekeeping anything. This is basically it. I'm going to do one on Google as well if you're interested in that, and we're going to talk about SMTP as well, because we got quite an interesting solution coming up. So just wait a few days until we post about that. I want to do a detailed video on that and what is exactly going on in the SMTP world nowadays, because there are some major shifts. So Outlook is quite simple, easy. If you're wondering like what you should do in terms of like infrastructure and setup, check this video. I know it's a long one, 1.5 hours, but I recently did a full walkthrough guide on basically what you need to do, best practices in terms of email for Outlook as well as Google, which I'm going to do a video on shortly as well. So if you are interested, just watch it. If not, hope you got value out of it. And finally, you can go and get your own inboxes. So that's it. I'll see you in the next.